So let me welcome our next speaker, Mr. Alvin Ng. Okay, so Alvin is currently the Regional Vice President and General Manager of Johnson Controls. Basically, he is responsible for the digital solutions across Asian Pacific and Japan. So from the CV, I see that Kelvin was also the General Manager of G Digital in ASEAN, previously taking care of all the ASEAN-related matters on industry software solution and service business. And Alvin is also the adjunct associate professor at Nanyang Business School. Okay, so his presentation is going to be interesting about life cycle digital twins in real estate value change, driving end-to-end digitization and sustainability. So let's welcome Alvin. Alvin, please.
Hey, thank you, Ricky, and what a privilege to share. And thank you, SUTD and team for giving me this opportunity. So been really inspired. Got a lot of insights from Sham, who talked a lot about how SUTD thinks about sustainability. And I think, and then Eugene from Sabana Jurong really think about, a design-centered view of where we see future and how that digital is coming together. So, I'm touching on also an interesting topic that will kind of bring a bit of what Sham is saying and what Eugene is saying kind of into reality, right? So I would say that the built environment lifecycle digital twin, it's a way we think about that intersection point of digitization and sustainability. All right, so good morning, good afternoon, and I mean, if there's some of you, good good evening if you are calling from other parts of the world, right? So let me quickly move to two big concepts that I wanted to quickly share with you. One is what I call the future of built environment. And the concept of human centricity, connectedness, and sustainability, right? And the way we look at that at Johnson Control, it's really around the concept of resilience. So resilience equates digital transformation, sustainability, and what we call experience, which is wellness. That intersection point of what I call space, technology, and people really build the cognitive resilient building of the future, or the autonomous building of the future, right? So when you begin to triangulate the 6 points of intelligence, from built environment intelligence to security, to wellness and behavior in people, to space, which is mobility and spatial, and if you can collect all this data, and that Venn diagram and that intersection point really bring that sweet spot of the new and differentiated value that as you begin to create within the built environment. So if you kind of think about, Google Map 8 years ago, right? And you get you from point A to point B, it gives you the visualization of the traffic condition. But if you look at Google Map now, that ability to ingest weather intelligence, retail intelligence, your personal likes and dislikes, and your personal movement, and then you ingest things like petrol kiosks, data from that. Now the power of technology has now been shifted to the human being, and the human being now has a choice to make a decision that if it's a traffic jam, where does he want to go? Maybe he goes to pump his petrol, maybe he goes to his favorite restaurant, maybe he detours to do an activity that he's always wanted to do. And if you think about the space and you think about the built environment, the future of that is, can we shift the power of technology to the human? And the human now has a choice to move, and especially moving from pandemic to endemic, you want to create a choice for the human. You want to be able to allow that human with the ability to harness data and unlock the value of data and be able to move from location, from place to place, depending, So he can choose to walk up the stairs instead of taking the lift if there are too many people in the lift. He can choose to go to the canteen depending on the time of day and the queue. So the ability to harness all that data gives now that human being the choice. And that, we believe, it's a future of the built environment. The second thing that's really happening, and we are seeing a lot of that from our customers, and this is what our customers are telling us, is the intersection point of digitization and sustainability, right? So let me maybe give you what we've been hearing from customers and the 5 intersections. So safety and security is now a must and a table stake, but total experience and wellness and creating that healthy building is becoming more and more critical as we move into endemic. Sustainability, we always do it with reporting, right? You ingest data, you consolidate, you report, and you report ESG, and then align your company with the SDG goals, right? The UN SDG. As you think about that, data has always been very static. But as you move into committing on a net zero journey, you're committing on a 2030 net zero, you now want to manage sustainability. You now need real-time, dynamic, continuous data that will start to measure, monitor, analyze your environment, be it waste, be it water, be it energy. Then you want to control, and then you begin to automate and continuously commission and tune the building performance so that you can walk the journey to super low energy and then to net zero. As what Eugene said earlier with Savannah Jurong's new building, you want to begin to walk that journey, and you can only do that if you are digitized, right? So therefore, that combination of digitization and sustainability is now coming together. The fourth thing is really around building centricity and human centricity. As a company of 135 years, we think a lot about the building. But in the last 3 to 4 years, we begin to realize the real end customer is the human within that building. And therefore, everything you think about from design to space to technology, it is human-centric. And as the world gets digitized, as you begin to sensorize the entire building, as sensors become cheaper, and technology becomes more open and modular, you are moving from a smart building to a building as a service, to a net zero building as a service, for example. And that is the evolution of why we believe that digital and sustainability is coming together. So with Johnson Control, we recently launched our overall Open Blue solution, right? And we are extremely, as a company, focused on outcomes. And we believe that outcomes is about the domain, which is, we have that 135 years of heritage. Warren Johnson invented the thermostat, right? And we are also now the world's largest building technology portfolio company end-to-end, and extremely focused on just the building, right? So, we acquired Tyco, we have BMS, BAS, we have HVAC, but now with Tyco acquisition a couple of years back, we have fire safety, security, but more importantly, we begin to learn, right? And I think, our 2 previous speakers talk about AI, and AI is really the learning technology, right? And if you think about our installed base, 90% of the world's most iconic buildings, we begin to collect the gold data. That gold data allow us to continuously learn around the world and how buildings are performing, how buildings become super low energy, and that data becomes really the library of fault detection rules, the library of the models that we collect that allow us to now work with our customers through a journey of prescriptive maintenance also from predictive to prescriptive maintenance, and be able to kind of really think ahead and walk the journey towards autonomous building. And then with digital, as we said earlier, with our Open Blue suite of solution, that investment allow us to really scale through our platform, our Open Blue platform, and then apply our analytics engine, our optimization engine, and our experience engine to really complete that single pane of glass for our customers, or for building owners and real estate owners to walk that journey to sustainability. And then more importantly, the whole overall partnership, in terms of ecosystem that we bring. So if you think about Johnson Control, we are building and bridging the gap between the world of OT, operational technology, which we are really good at for the 135 years, to the world of system, right? And that whole ability to ingest platform application and AI and drive a set of application that can solve really our customer outcomes in a way of changing the business model of software as a service, cloud services, and scale. But let me introduce an interesting concept of what we call the lifecycle digital twin, right? So if you think about the real estate, the lifecycle of a real estate asset, from land, design, sales and construction, operation, customer experience to retrofit. And you need to create a digital thread that cuts across in order to actually now manage sustainability end to end, right? From whether be it, your entire decarbonization and carbon footprint that you have. And so we believe that, real estate owners, designers like Savannah Jurong, architects together with the big real estate companies are really beginning to build at the very high, upstream that design digital twin. But as they move towards the operate phase, where you are beginning to drive that journey, drive that management of sustainability and look at the building performance, because as you know, 40% of every city, the carbon footprint comes from building. And that whole perspective of operating and what we call operate digital twin is becoming more and more critical. And then the likes of, your cloud players are beginning to realize that the world of IoT and smart buildings and smart cities and the amount of data that you are harnessing and the ability to unlock that value is becoming critical. And so if you can create an ability between the design twin and the operate twin to talk to each other, we call it the lifecycle twin and create a digital thread. Right? So here's the value, right? So as we kind of think about the twin that we have built, which is the operate twin, and with a platform extending to connect with the design twin, right, from pre-design to schematic to design, development, construction stage, our ability to take data from the upstream, populate that into the downstream, and be able to immediately and seamlessly operate and continuously drive that journey and that management of sustainability is becoming critical. And this is exactly what our customers are looking for, right? The ability to say, how do I connect? How do I create? And BCA calls this the IDD, right? And I think this is becoming a very important perspective for creating that digital thread in our industry. So if you think about that, energy performance, IAQ, lighting base, these are the simulation, these are the digital twin that as you begin to apply AI and the learning technology to drive that, you begin to save, be more efficient in the way you design, more efficient in the way you build the, you procure your raw materials, in the way you construct. But as you think about the downstream, you want to begin to drive energy performance, asset life cycle, really create wellness, and indoor air quality and environment quality is becoming important. And, Eugene said earlier that the whole experience that human being, that occupant experience, and that's really around that whole operate twin that we talked about. And if data can seamlessly move from the upstream to the downstream, this becomes really powerful in the way we think about operating the building for the future. So we see that, the lifecycle digital twin becomes that autonomous enablement from our OpenBlue suite of solution and our platform, applying learning technology like artificial intelligence. With our domain, you begin to learn, you move, and as you inch your journey towards that autonomous building, which is a lot more human-centric, and bringing technology and the power of technology to the choice of people, right? So when we think about that journey, when we think about the building, the built environment space, we think of this as use cases. We think of this as how we want to help our customer walk that journey. And as earlier I shared earlier about that life cycle twin, that ability to create these experiences and make it easy is becoming extremely critical. And I think that there are a lot of technology out there that allow you to drive that. But more importantly, you want to think about technology that is open, like the OpenBlue technology, you want to think of technology as modular. And you want to think of technology and digital technology as ability to scale, but more importantly, that ability to create outcomes, especially for sustainability, is extremely critical. Okay. Again, give you a perspective of, we think about the future of the built environment more from a use case standpoint, right? How do you begin to take the platform, you take the application, you take the modularity and the openness of technology combined with your ecosystem and begin to build use cases that we can go jointly to the market with? So in this environment and in our industry, it's not about one company, but it's really about a collective intelligence and the collective team of different partners, strategic partners that can come together to begin to develop that whole perspective, that whole outcome for our end customer. And let me just wrap up with our last slide. And if there's one slide that you want to take away from, it's really this slide. As you think about the future, it is quite simple. You think of this as get connected, get insights, get optimized, and really drive outcomes. And everything you think about is really around the outcome of the future. But as you think about outcome, domain and digital are becoming core. And within digital, you need to think about it as open and modular. But more importantly, as we evolve technology, the systems within the built environment is highly complex. So when we build use cases traditionally, there's a lot of effort, there's a lot of time, and there's a lot of technology and cost involved in building those use cases to bring it together. But the moment you create the art of a platform to be able to harmonize, cleanse, and really bring data together and clean up that data, then now ability for you to build application, you shorten the time to build application. So think of this as an Apple phone. Think of OpenBlue platform as your iOS within the building. Think of it as the building operating system. If you can cleanse the data and you begin to build application in a modular format, you shorten the life cycle and the time for you to achieve your experiences and your outcome. And I think this is probably the most important as we walk this journey, that as we walk the journey of sustainability, as we walk the journey of creating smart facility management, as we walk the journey of creating your condition-based maintenance to predictive to prescriptive, that entire journey is becoming more and more important to drive it with digital. But then the final outcome, which we all talked about a lot, which is that whole net zero decarbonization, without digital, you can't achieve that. So again, thank you, SUTD, and back to you, Ricky.
Yeah, thank you, Alvin, for a very interesting presentation. I actually have two questions. One is from the Slido, the other one is for myself. Okay, so the first question is from the Slido is asking, what are the difficulties when you do this kind of digital twins for the building life cycle? So the question is short, but I expect that what kind of technical difficulty, right? So when you do all these things, you say, how I wish this, how I wish that. Yeah, can you maybe share what are the so-called difficulties that when you do this kind of complex, such a complexity when you do to meet so much demand from all aspects? Yeah.
So I think we over glamorize digital twin, but think of digital twin as, in Singapore, when we have our night Formula One every August and September, in the control room of a Formula One car, and as the car is spinning around that whole night circuit within Singapore, in the control room, you have a live digital model of how the engine, how the oil, how the heat, how the wheels are turning, and the temperature within the cabin of the driver. All that is being tracked real-time, continuous, and dynamically. That is a digital twin. Your ability to translate scenarios that is in a live environment into a digital environment. And therefore, you are able to call the driver in and say, hey, your tire's burning out, we need to change your tire. You're able to call out and say, hey, come in and we need to pump fuel. So think of digital twin as that perspective. And now you think of this as the design phase, the construction phase of the building. If you are building levels by levels and you have a digital model on the site that recording the activities that are happening and helping you to create scenarios so that you can predict, you save time and cost. So back to your question about complexity. I think traditionally we have BIM and all that, right? For greenfield projects. I think the biggest challenge is brownfield, right? How do you take a lot of the BIM data if you don't have them? How do you convert your existing environment and your legacy environment into? So there are now technologies that are out there that allow you to do that, to do scanning within a couple of hours and you can collect the BIM data, right? But I think as you begin to think about the complexity of digital twin, you unpack it by saying it is not one company that can do it. It is not one technology that can do it. But technology has advanced to a level where it's becoming more open and modular, where you now can stitch it much easier so that you play in an ecosystem world. So the short answer to your question is, we in this industry need to learn how to become an ecosystem solution providers, that we can come together and co-innovate and co-create to help our customer advance and run faster.
Okay, my question is from the educator point of view, as I know you are also a faculty in NTU. So for your company, the job, the aspect is such a whole complex, so you need a lot of teamwork, that kind of thing. But let's say right now you want to get a manager to over a certain aspect. He would not able to know the all aspect, right? So you get a computer scientist, he may not have the domain knowledge. So can you share about what kind of people that you are looking for in order to do such a complex kind of thing? For, let's say for a typical undergraduate engineer, right? What kind of thing that they need to in order to master, in order to do this kind of job? Yeah.
So I would say, before I talk about the talent and the kind of job and the kind of skill, I think you need to think about the digital transformation in the world of built environment as the triangle of technology, people, and process. Having a software, having the latest technology, having AI is not good enough, and you will not transform the industry. You will not, ease your ability to execute till and until you have that process or the transformation journey, the how. And the moment you understand the how, but then the people, which is the why. And I would say that, in Singapore, SkillsFuture have played a tremendous role, right? That given the pathway of how do you think about making sure that the likes of, SUTD, NUS, you no longer think about architects, but you think about it as cross-disciplinary, number one, right? So number one, you need to think of it as cross-disciplinary. Number two, you need to think and embed. Digital is no longer a subject, but digital is now horizontal. Digital is becoming a DNA. Digital is becoming in everything we do. And so if you look at NUS, for example, or yourself, you're beginning to incorporate a lot of AI and design work in what you do at SUTD, which is very powerful, right? So digital is becoming horizontal. I would say in the future, sustainability will become horizontal in everything we do. Right, so we go in verticals as educational people. We think of this as architecture. We think of this as industrial design, engineering, and all that. But I would say that learning of the future is becoming more cross-disciplinary. So if you think about that, digital will become horizontal. Sustainability will be, regardless of what you do, you think about sustainability. Regardless of what you do, you need to think about digital. So the talent that you want to develop for the future, it is really around outcomes and therefore sustainability, and the foundation for you to scale and enable what you do and to achieve those outcomes is digital. So digital and sustainability skill set and everything else you can learn, right? Whether it's BIM, whether it's AI, all that you can learn, but everything else on the foundation perspective, I see the world moving into that perspective. And by the way, which I forgot, design is also going to be horizontal. Mm-hmm. Right, everything you do, and this is why I think SUTD's vision of being a design school is so powerful, because design is horizontal, digital is horizontal, and sustainability is horizontal.
Okay, thank you, Alvin, for sharing your wisdom, and then I appreciate your strong support of SUTD curriculum on the multidisciplinary and then sustainability, digital, and also the design. So thank you for your precious time for spending your Saturday morning
Thank
with
you.
us. Thank you, Alvin.
Thank you.
Thank you.